Hi everybody, welcome to Sunya and welcome to the environment high yielding topics. Today we are going to cover the environment related report and indices, okay? And this is divided into two parts. So today we will be covering part number 1 of the important report and indices, and in the next part we will cover the other important updates, okay? So this report and indices in general is a low hanging fruit, and especially these environment reports, because a lot of the new reports have come in and some of them are very important from the exams perspective. So that is the basic idea. So in this short set of 2 lectures, we'll be covering all these important reports, okay? And those of you who are following the current affairs, this magazine Samadhan, I'll just tell you the page number 162, okay? So from page 162 onwards, you have a separate section of report and indices, and you can follow along with me there, okay? There are some other reports and some other categorization that I have done, so that is an add-on for you, okay? And for other reports, etc., you can follow along from page number 162 onwards, right? So number 1, I'll start with UNEP, okay? So there are some reports of UNEP that we should be aware about. UNEP is United Nations Environment Program, okay? Formed in the year 1972, okay? This also is completing 50 years, okay? So you can expect a question on this. Its headquarters is in Nairobi, okay? So there are 6 reports of UNEP that you should know. One good way to understand is the reports which have the word gap, okay? So there are 3 reports which have this word. One is emission gap report, then you have production gap report, right? And I think I've also added it here. And the last is, yeah, I'll just add it and then we can just do that. Yeah, adaptation. So emission gap report, production gap report, adaptation gap report. The basic idea in all of the 3 is, for example, the current level of emissions which we are doing, okay, let's say this is on the graph here, and the emissions we should have, okay, to ensure that we are on a sustainable path. So there's a huge gap between this. This is covered under the emission gap report. Same concept is under production gap report, and similarly in the adaptation gap report. So let's say to adapt to more renewable, better technologies, okay, what is the investment, etc., what is needed. So that is the adaptation gap. So number 1, 3 reports here: adaptation, emission, production. Then a newer report which I'll also tell, State of Finance for Nature report. Okay, now this is not just by UN, it also has other agencies which we'll see in the next slide, but you should also remember this one. Okay, so 4 reports so far. Then there is a Frontiers report, again by UN, Frontiers report, okay, and in some cases you will find the name Annual Frontiers report, that is by UN. And the last is the Global Environment Outlook, okay. So this is the set of reports by UNEP. Now I was telling you about the State of Finance for Nature. So this is the newer report which has come out. This is the 2nd edition. So State of Finance for Nature talks about tripling the investments in nature based solutions, okay, by 2030. Now 3 bodies, one is UNEP, then World Economic Forum. Again in this set of lecture I'll have few reports of World Economic Forum as well. And third is Economics of Land Degradation, okay. So UNEP, World Economic Forum, and Economics of Land Degradation. This is the State of Finance for Nature report, okay. So that is the first part that you should be aware about. Then reports by World Meteorological Organization, okay. And again I have covered some of the very important updates of this body, okay, World Meteorological Organization. So the number 1 important report is State of the Global Climate 2021, okay, State of the Global Climate report. That is the one important report. Other than that, it has a greenhouse gas bulletin, okay, yeah. So number one, what we have seen, state of global climate 2021. Second is global annual to decadal climate update. Okay, this again is by World Meteorological Organization. Okay, WMO. Fine. Then there's a greenhouse gas bulletin. Of course, see, WMO takes into account the different greenhouse gases, publishes a bulletin and updates it regularly. Okay, so this is there. Don't confuse this with, there is a greenhouse gas protocol. That protocol is by World Resource Institute, okay, and World Business Council for Sustainable Development. That is separate. That is greenhouse gas protocol. We are talking of greenhouse gas bulletin. Okay, the bulletin is by World Meteorological Organization (WMO) and by Global Atmosphere Watch. Okay, so again, that is something we can be aware about. Now, and by the way, when I was telling you, you can also mention, see, this is state of the global climate 2021. Okay, so an update has come here. So we have also the WMO. There is a provisional state of global climate of 2022. So the moment you see the word climate, etc., you can think of WMO. So this is state of the global climate. There is also a provisional report for the global climate for 2022, again by WMO. Okay, so that again gives a giveaway, and there is also one more report which you can write down additionally before we cover this United for Science. Okay, the name of that report is the state of global the state of global water resources report. Okay, okay, this again is by WMO. Okay, and this is its first report, which is why this is important, the status of the global water resources report. Okay, so overall, how are the water resources with respect to climate change, etc., what changes have happened, is spoken about in this report. Okay, so basically talking about the limited availability of resources and how to manage the resources. This is the state of global water resources report. And lastly is United in Science. You can see the logo here. United in Science is again a report by World Meteorological Organization, WMO. Okay, and here it talks about, basically it is a multi-organizational, it is a compilation of things related to climate change, the response, and alongside things. Okay, so this is United in Science report. Okay, so that is one, and in fact it is a multi-organization high level, so it includes collaboration with multiple bodies. Okay, which includes UNEP, okay, which includes Global Carbon Project, which includes IPCC, so on and so forth. So one is United in Science. So just think, United means a lot of bodies are working, and overall they're talking about climate change, right? So this is another report. Again, if I move to the next one, just before that we can quickly recall. So one is the state of the global climate report, and similarly provisional climate reports both for Asia and the global are published by WMO. Then this global annual to decadal climate update by again WMO. Greenhouse gas bulletin, WMO. Greenhouse gas protocol was different. United in Science, and state of the global water resources report. See, I have tried to segregate all of them by these bodies so that you will find a lot of these reports scattered in other places. So this will help you revise them in one place. Now this is a very important report by Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, IPCC. IPCC as a body was formed in 1988. Okay, that is one. So here the main thing what you to know is that there is an assessment report which it brings about. Okay, so here this is the 6th iteration of the assessment report. Okay, and this report basically is a very authoritative report on whatever things are happening because of climate change. Okay, so fact based, a lot of evidences are there to support climate change. For example, it talks about increasing carbon dioxide concentrations. Okay, and by the way, we've already covered in terminologies Keeling curve. Okay, then what is the degree rise in temperature? It talks about that. What is the sea level rise? Okay. So IPCC talks about these things. Now one thing, a question can be asked, whether IPCC does its own scientific assessments or surveys. Okay. So it does not do that. It provides a compilation. Okay. So we should be aware that this is providing basically a compilation of sorts. Okay. It is not doing all these things by itself. Okay. So it does not undertake the scientific activities, right? And it does this as a report collation group. So that is Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, formed in the year 1988. Okay. Okay. Now please tell me in the comment section, IPCC was formed by which two very prominent bodies? Okay. This again can be a question which can be asked. Okay. A very simple question. So tell me which are the two bodies which have led to the formation of IPCC in 1988. Moving forward, drought in numbers report. Okay. So here it is by UNCCD, United Nations Convention to Combat Desertification. Recently, COP15, Conference of Parties 15 of UNCCD happened. Okay. This happened in Africa, basically Côte d'Ivoire. Okay. In Abidjan. Okay. So you will see terms like Abidjan Declaration is related to, again, desertification. Okay. And management of desertification. So drought in numbers is related to this. Okay. Restoration for readiness and resilience. Now this is the recent report, but still there are other reports. Again, my tip for you for CCD related reports is the word land. So you have Global Land Outlook, again by UNCCD. Okay, you have business for land initiative. Okay, so usually the word land is a giveaway that it is a report by UNCCD. All right, this is drought in numbers. Then there is a global risk report. Now, if you don't know, this is by World Economic Forum. It is actually very difficult to guess it from its name, global risk report. Okay, so here number one thing of course is World Economic Forum, right? We've already seen that World Economic Forum, UNEP, and Economics of Land Degradation was responsible for state of finance for nature. Okay, so this is WEF. Okay, it is published annually every year, and the name is Global Risk Report. Okay, so here it talks about a lot of things, including environmental disasters, including technological issues, okay, including cost of living crisis, inequalities, etc. So it talks about a lot of things. What are the risks globally? And out of them, one risk is environmental risk. There are geopolitical risks as well. Okay, so it talks about a series of 5 basic risks. Okay, so one is technological, one is societal, there is geopolitical. Okay, and the last or the most the one which makes it important for us is the environmental one. Okay, and the last, because this is World Economic Forum, so economic risk as well. Okay, so this is the global risk report. Then fostering effective energy transition. Now here in both these lectures, lecture number 1 and 2, I have energy related reports as well. Okay, so that also please make a note that you also follow that, because renewable energy, and especially because of Panchamrit. Okay, in COP26 we had a list of pledges. In that, energy was given a very important role. So that also is something that one needs to know about. So fostering effective energy transition, this is by World Economic Forum. Okay, so that is one thing that one needs to know, that what is this particular report. Okay, here only this thing, that how is the energy transition between the countries is happening, is done by World Economic Forum. Okay, additionally, one more thing you can do for World Economic Forum, the environment related reports and other reports, please write them on one piece of page. Okay, so for example, again, if you see this page number 162 only, you can find fostering effective energy transition, you can find the global risk report. Okay, you'll also see this seeing the invisible etc report, right? So you can make good use of this compilation in your Samadhan as well, right? So this was the one I was talking about, seeing the invisible. a strategic report on groundwater quality. Now these kind of reports, if they are asked, because you might not able to, let's say, think of word bank, so do this effort once with me, okay, in this list of lectures. Be very attentive, and let's say if you get a single question out of this, your work is done. Barely you have to spend combined both these lectures not more than 30 minutes. All right. So this strategic report on groundwater quality is by number one World Bank. Now what it tells us, okay, again the page number is 162, you can have a look. Fine. So here it talks about the contamination because of natural and man-made regions. Now this report also highlights the areas in India which are, for example, West Bengal, Jharkhand, Bihar, Uttar Pradesh, etc., most affected by arsenic contamination of groundwater, number one. Second, fluoride contamination is prevalent in Andhra Pradesh, Tamil Nadu, Uttar Pradesh, Gujarat, Rajasthan, right? And also it talks about uranium contamination. Fine. And lastly is nitrate. So all these things, high nitrate, high uranium, high arsenic, and the high fluoride concentration is something. Now please tell me, what happens when there is a high nitrate contamination? Similarly, tell me what happens. This you must have seen in your pollution. Okay, there are specific diseases that you read about. So what happens because of high fluoride? What happens because of high arsenic, high cadmium, and high nitrate? There are specific names of diseases that is mentioned in your NCRTs. Please highlight that, or at least write that down in the comment section. Okay. So this is Seeing the Invisible, strategic report on groundwater quality. Then there is a report known as Climate and Development. Now again, this report is by the World Bank Group. Okay, the name is Climate and Development. Okay, so here basically it talks about the insights of countries and how the greenhouse gas emissions of the countries and the development. So it tracks few countries, it sees the greenhouse gas emissions, and in that sense it talks about climate and development. Okay, so again this is by World Bank. Again one more report by World Bank. Then you have the Sustainable Development Report 2022. Okay, so again this report is important. Why? Because of see, number one, sustainable development as a concept, it should be known to you that SDGs, Sustainable Development Goals, first of all, legally binding, true or not? No, these are not legally binding. Okay, then these were an outcome of the Rio Plus 20 summit. Okay, so number one, this is something that you need to know, that you have Sustainable Development Report of 2022. Okay, that has come up. Sustainable development as a concept is also something you need to know. Again, from environment perspective, there are some SDGs that you should be aware about. Okay, SDGs like, you have SDG number 13, which is about climate change. You have SDG number 7 that talks about energy. Okay, you have SDG number 14 and 15. Okay, so 14 talks about life below water, and 15 talks about life on land. Okay, so all these things are overall very important for you to know. Okay, life below water, life on land, etc., etc. So please be aware about these things. Fine. So this is Sustainable Development Report of 2022 published by SSDN. Okay, so there is this sustainable development, this network is there, okay, which publishes the report of sustainable development. All right. Okay, then you have the Global Ocean Observing System. Okay, so this again, the name also itself is important for us to know. So there is a Global Ocean, once again, yeah, Observing System. So here what you need to know, number one is, first of all, it talks about the ocean systems, the circulation of ocean systems which is happening, and related to that it is giving us a report. Okay, so that is one thing that we need to understand here. All right, that this report talks about the Global Ocean System Observing System, right? So here number one thing is, this is published by, this again is published by WMO, World Meteorological Organization. Okay, so that is one thing you need to know. Now with respect to ocean systems, you need to know two things. One, ocean acidification as a concept. Secondly, AMOC. Now in IPCC report, it also talks about tipping points. Okay, one of them talks about AMOC, Atlantic Meridional Ocean Circulations. In AMOC, okay, overall what are the patterns should be at least known to you. So please also revise these two things apart from what you read about in this report by World Meteorological Organization. Okay, then there is a global plastics outlook. Okay, plastics in general because are important because of the amendments which have happened to our plastic management rules. One. Secondly, we have spoken about phasing out of the single-use plastics. Fine. So because of this, this is important. So this global plastic outlook is by OECD. Okay. So that is also one thing we need to know. Basically talking about the issues in the management of plastics and overall how can plastics be in some sense be reduced, because there is a huge dependency on plastics overall. So that is one. So this is global plastics outlook by OECD. Then illegal wildlife trade and climate change. Both these themes are very important, and a combination of these themes, especially see illegal wildlife trade because of pangolins, trafficking of pangolins, COVID, okay, spread of zoonotic diseases is an important theme. One. So the combination of both, this report is published by UNODC, United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime. UNODC, United Nations Office on Drug and Crime. Fine. So this is illegal wildlife trade and climate change. Okay. And by the way, in India you have bodies like WCCB, Wildlife Crime Control Bureau, which again manage illegal wildlife trade. Okay. There are provisions of Wildlife Protection Act, okay, of 1972. Then there are, for example, CITES. You have this convention for the trade of endangered species. Okay. Then there are other things. For example, you have traffic. You have coalition against wildlife trafficking. So there are multiple bodies which are dealing with this theme, including this United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime. All right. Then urban forestry and urban greening in dry land report. Now this is by FAO. Again we'll see in the second part again a report by FAO, which is the state of the world's forest. So maybe you can have this theme in your head that the forest related reports mostly are by FAO, Food and Agriculture Organization. Okay. So here, by the way, that might not directly come to your mind, because let's say if you read about FAO, maybe food, okay, Codex Alimentarius, etc. comes to mind. Okay, things related to other things. But here urban forestry and urban greening in the Drylands report is by FAO. Now with respect to urban forestry, we have already seen Miyawaki method, okay, and we have done the Yadadri model, okay. Then apart from that, we had also seen what are cloud forest, what are micro forest, cloud forest initiative, okay, basically which is related to financing and valuations. Fine. In case you have not seen that, please see the high yielding terminology lecture. There is a 3 set of lectures, so you can see that. Okay. So this urban forestry report and urban greening is by FAO. Then there is a report again, mainstreaming biodiversity in forestry. Again a forestry report. I told you our trick, or basically we are thinking of FAO. Okay. And there is this CIFOR. This again is related to forestry and management. Okay. So mainstreaming biodiversity in forestry is a report by FAO. For here, these just report and one line is important. Okay. And the last is climate change performance index. Now this is an important report. Okay. So I have also included this macros of this here. So one thing, in the 2023 report, India has stood 8th. In the earlier report, India was among the top 10 nations. Okay, it was at the 10th number. That is one. So this is climate change performance index. It is published by German Watch. Okay, this body German Watch is what is publishing this. Fine. Climate change performance index. Now Because in 2016 there was a question, okay, which was on basically the the hunger report. In that they had even asked you, for example, malnourishment, stunting, etc. What are the indicators? So here I've also included this part because see, the India is doing well here. So one, they can ask you who publishes it. Secondly, they can even ask you what is the parameters. So there are 4 parameters, and I've also included the percentage. Maximum is greenhouse gas emissions, 40%. Climate policy, energy use, and renewable energy. All of them are 20% each. Okay, so have a look at this pie chart. And secondly, this CCPI is published by German Watch. India is 8th in the report of 2023. Okay, and India was among the top 10 nations in 2022. Okay, so this is climate change performance index. And by the way, these reports, etc., again can be used, of course, in prelims. If you get a question like that, they can also be used in mains. So if you start an answer, etc., you can definitely mention these parts to score extra marks. Fine. So this is the first part of this lecture. I'll just quickly recap what all reports we've done so far. Okay, so we started with 6 reports of UNEP. Okay, production gap report, emission gap report, adaptation gap report, state of finance for nature, okay, frontiers report, okay, and this global environment outlook. Then we had seen reports by World Meteorological Organization, including state of the global climate report, the provisional report on the global climate, the climate in Asia. Then we had seen annual update to decadal climate update. Fine. By the way, again, the word climate, usually if you see, the report is by WMO. Greenhouse gas bulletin, greenhouse gas protocol was separate. Okay. Then we had seen United in Science, and then we had also seen state of global water, this resources report. Okay, this report is by WMO. Another report related to this groundwater was by, that was a World Bank report. Fine. IPCC 6th assessment report we had seen. Drought in numbers by UNCCD. Global risk report by World Economic Forum. Fostering effective energy transition. This report is by World Economic Forum. Okay. Seeing the invisible. Yeah, this was the report. Again, this is on groundwater quality. The other report was on water resources. This is by World Bank. Okay. Climate and development, again by World Bank. Sustainable development report, etc. This is by SSDN. Okay. This global ocean observing system, again this by WMO. Global plastics outlook by OECD. Illegal wildlife trade and climate change by UNODC. Urban forestry and urban greening, this was by FAO. Mainstreaming biodiversity in forestry, again by FAO. And the last report was climate change performance index by the German Watch, right? Again, those of you who want to complete your environment in a very comprehensive manner can join the environment prelims crash course, and for other subjects also you can do that. You'll get access to all the lectures at one go, okay, and you'll also be getting these very comprehensive and very crisp set of notes, so that also will be very helpful. All right, with that said, I'll now meet you in the second part of this. So a lot of facts are here, but a combination of these 2 lectures will help you to have a good idea of all the reports which are published in the last 1.5 years. All right, please keep revising. I'll see you soon. Thank you.